So he literally tells Biddy that all the feelings, right, all the emotions, they have all gone by, Biddy, all gone by. But you can see he contradicts himself in the next paragraph. I'm going there alone for her sake, right, for nothing else. The sole reason to go there would be him. Yes, Estella. And then I had heard of her as leading a most unhappy life and has been separated from her husband. So there you can see, right? In the movie it is not shown, right? Yeah, but again here. Who had used her with great cruelty. That means this husband has been very cruel to Estella. And who had become quite renowned as a compound of pride, avarice means reverend greed, specifically this greed for money. There's this nice poem called Avarice as well. Brutality and meanness. Yeah, so he's not only kind of, greedy, but also very cruel as well, very brutal. Realistic, but not kind of suitable to be a human. Something like that, very lowly, mean. Maybe you have heard people mentioning, third class people. Yeah, something like that. So it is nothing to do with the social class, but the way that a person behaves. Yeah. Okay. And then I had heard of the death of her husband, right? So after being separated, that person has died. So you can see that a kind of a very tragic condition. So it's almost like Estella is receiving this, karmic kind of, yeah, it's something like that. Almost kind of it appears as a karmic treatment. And then from an accident consequent on his ill treatment of a horse, and how has he died? Again, something related to karma, right? When he was going to ill treat a horse, yeah, so then he has kind of, met with an accident and then died. So this release had befallen her some 2 years before. So that has been a release to her. So that shouldn't happen. I mean, when we consider the death, right? So usually we consider that death to be something very tragic. But here, when we consider some people, even maybe for you as well, right? Sometimes the death of some people can be a release, which is very tragic, right? Not suitable to human condition. I mean, if a person dies and the other people feel happy about it, that means that person has not lived a very kind of a good or a generous life. That is the idea. You remembered someone like that? I remember. Yes, right, yeah, again, so it's very sad, right? But again, as you mentioned that day, so all these evil people are products of the society, right? Yeah, I think you know about Hitler and Prabhakaran, because you know that both of them had kind of a very unhappy childhood. They were discriminated, right? Yeah, so maybe that's what led to their kind of mental condition to kill other people. Yeah, so Hitler was this great painter. If you Google his paintings, those are very beautiful, beautiful painting. So that's very sad that he turned into someone like that to kill thousands of people. Yeah, right? Okay. And then, yes, the early dinner hour at Jaws left me abundance of time. Is that part there, April? Yes. Yeah. Without hurrying my talk with Biddy to walk over to the old spot before dark. So he is literally in a hurry to go to the Satis house. But what with loitering on the way to look at old objects and to think of old times, the day had quite declined when I came to the place. And again, what do you think that why is Joe kind of why is Pip referring to Joe's place as Joe's? Because it's literally his house as well, right? But he identifies it as Joe's house. So what does that say? So we see him as this humble person when he returns after 11 years. Can you remember that we discussed, reverence? Yeah, he returns and he's humble. Yeah, and he kind of lets this little Pip play with him. And also he's happy about, the naming, because they have also named this person Pip, this kid Pip. But again, what does this say? My early dinner hour at Joe's left me abundance of time. At Joe's, not referring to it as his own house, referring to it as, yeah, Joe's house. What is the idea there? Yeah? Humanity. And also something else, reference. He could have referred to it as his house, right? What is the idea there?
Before his sister was there, but now.
No, yeah, that can also be a reason, a good reason, yeah. And something else? Give me a minute. Yes, Reverend Tusita? Do you have enough attendance? Okay. Yeah.
He considered Joe as his father, like husband.
Yeah, in a way, yes. Any other answer?
Making Joe as father.
Okay, yeah, so he is this proxy father figure. We have discussed about this idea of proxy father and mother figures, reverence, right? Yeah, so yeah, in a way, yes. And also, don't you think he doesn't identify it as his own house? Maybe because he's not yet ready to identify his own social class, because he has lived his life up to now as a gentleman, and then there was this decline suddenly. So maybe he doesn't want to kind of identify him as someone belonging to the forge, in a way. Can be, right? If we kind of analyze his mental condition. Yeah.
Still, his mind is not clear.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, he's not ready, exactly. Not ready to accept his plight in a way. And that's why he wants to go to Sati's house as well. Maybe he's not doing it intentionally. But I told you, both these books are like psychological novels. We can read them in kind of a very strong psychological light. So, yeah, can be one of the reasons. You can argue for or against, right? Yeah.
Is he trying to reject his own roots?
Yeah, of course, Reverend. Trying to reject and forget his roots. Okay, right. Yeah, and then, but what with loitering on the way to look at old objects and to think of old times? But he is kind of a split in between, I would say. Right? He's split between the past, and as I told you that he doesn't want to kind of fully accept his present condition. But again, split, thinking about the old times. So split. Split between, yeah, two classes you can say, and also two times. Because it's like 11 years apart. After 11 years, he's coming to the village. So there's this, yeah, temporal issue as well. And then there was no house now, right? You can see. Do you want to read it out, Reverend? Shall I read it out? Split. S-P-L-I-T. Split between. Split between classes and times, right? Yeah. So old and modern times, that is also there. Right. And then there was no house now, no brewery, no building, whatever left, but the wall of the old garden. So there you can see, earlier there was something at least, right? Despite all the decay, yeah, so everything was decaying, dilapidated, right? Dilapidated again is kind of a synonym for decay, right? Yeah. But again you can see now there's nothing, right? No house, no brewery, so the nothingness is there now. Nothingness not in kind of a very spiritual sense, but in a very worldly sense. Nothing, almost like very desperate, right? Yeah. And the cleared space had been enclosed with a rough fence, right? Yeah. Yes, Reverend? Yeah, again, old garden, Reverend, you can refer to this idea. So sometimes people identify things as old not because they are literally old, but they belong to the olden times. So when we consider Pip's condition, he identifies it to be old because he refers to old times. Can you remember? Here, look at old objects and to think of old times. And then he is going to the old garden and then also the old ivy. Maybe because he is revisiting them in his memory. Set his house, yes, set his house. He is going to set his house, but he refers to it as old, Reverend. On one hand, they can be literally old, true, but also on the other hand, kind of emotionally, he connects it with his childhood. So it can be his old times. And also because we know that Pip is not very old. It's not like that he's 80 or 90, right? Around 40 or 35 or 40, such an age. And earlier also during this time, even 35 or 40 would be kind of, considered as kind of a mature age, which we do not do that right now, right? So if we kind of consider a person who's 30 or 35 as mature, they would be angry in, modern times, but, the times are different. Did I answer your question, Reverend? Okay. Yeah, also Reverend, yes, exactly. Yes. And then, yeah. So same old ivy, and also you can see that nothing has changed except, that the house, brewery and building. The buildings are not there, right? The early buildings. But again you can see the garden is the same. And also maybe the house or the buildings can be identified as, these structured presence, structured tradition, because those are like solid. Yeah, and the garden and all these things belong to the nature, reference. Yeah, so then you can see nature is anyway remaining unchanged, but exactly, the structured, the buildings, so the structured conventions, traditions, they are falling apart. Yes. And then growing green on low white mounds of ruin. A gate in the fence standing ajar, I pushed it open and went in, right? So now he goes inside. A cold silvery mist had veiled the afternoon. Is that part there, okay? Yes. Yeah. The moon was not yet up to scatter it, but the stars were shining beyond the mist. Again, you can see a beautiful picture of nature. So what is this imagery reference that you see here? visual imagery, right? Yeah. And then the moon was coming and the evening was not dark. And again you can see personification, the moon was coming as if the moon is a person. Yeah. I could trace out where every part of the old house had been. So he remembers everything. It's almost, he has this picturesque memory about the Satis house. Because the Satis house, no matter how depressing it was very dear to him in a very weird manner. And then I had done so and was looking along the desolate garden walk when I beheld a solitary figure in it. Right? So again, there is this kind of parallelism. I don't know whether we discussed about parallelism. Yeah, we discussed, right? Yeah. Kind of, drawing a parallel between two figures or two objects. We did not discuss parallelism. Means you are kind of, comparing and contrasting, mostly comparing and finding out the similarities of two objects or two people. Right? Parallelism. Yeah. So it's like, here you can see a parallelism is made between Miss Havisham.
Juxtaposition.
Yes, like not exactly juxtaposition level, because in juxtaposition what we do is we are contrasting two things. So in parallelism we are comparing, we are finding out the similar characteristics. So Havisham versus who do you think is the parallel of Havisham here? I will send you that word. I will type it here. Where's your group? All right. So one parallelism is made between Miss Havisham and whom? Miss Havisham. In this chapter you meet Estella. So Estella is again kind of, turned into kind of a junior version of Miss Havisham. So there is this parallelism. And also you can identify in a way Mrs. Joe also, but in the book. Not the Mrs. Joe in the movie, but in the book, because both of them are like invalid grandparents, right? Yeah, because Mrs. Joe is anyway an invalid. After this accident she becomes an invalid. She is unable to move literally, right? So in a way you can see this connection. And also Pip, who do you think is the parallel version of Pip? There is this nice parallelism made between them. Which one? That one. Who is kind of similar to Pip's age? Yeah, exactly, Pocket, right? So another parallelism is made between Pip and Herbert. I'm not going to use verses because it's not like opposites. Yeah, Pip and Herbert. Again, a parallelism is made between them. And also Joe and whom? Who is like this proxy father figure to Pip? Yes, Herbert? Exactly, the convict, right? That means Magwitch. Abel Magwitch. Yeah. And also, again, you can say another parallelism is not related to Joe, but between Magwitch and Compassion. Compassion is this other convict, the evil one. Yeah, so this is the good convict, this one is the evil convict. right? Again, a parallelism is made between. Yeah. And also you can identify another parallelism, I would say, between Compeyson and Jaggers as well. Because Jaggers is also kind of a shrewd character in a way. And also another one is there in Mrs. Joe, when we consider their nature, their cruelty, their rough characteristics, you can identify Estella's mother, the murderer, right? Yeah, Estella's mother, Molly. Yes. So likewise you can draw parallelisms. When you read books for fun, you can do this. You can see whether there are any parallelisms made, right? But in all the books that you don't find such characteristics, but with Dickens, yeah, you see.
In the other details, we can find.
Oh, right, yes, Reverend. So maybe you can do a research paper. So what happened to your research paper, the one you were going to write?
We have to do another research article.
Oh, right.
Ah,
Right, okay, then you completed. Right, okay, Reverend. No worries. Right, and where were we? And also, in a way, you can say that Biddy and Estella are parallels as well. Yeah, because Biddy is this humble person, very motherly, whereas Estella is someone kind of very cruel. And also, again, Mrs. Joe and Biddy, yeah, a parallel. So again, parallels can be similar and also in a way, contrasted and juxtaposed as well. But mostly they are similar. But in Great Expectations, you can see these kind of contrasting parallels as well. Right? Yeah. Okay. So where will we? Yes, Reverend. Okay. Yeah. So I could trace out where every part of the old house had been, and where the brewery had been, where the gates, where the casks. I had done so, and was looking along the desolate garden walk when I beheld a solitary figure in it. So this solitary figure is Estella. The figure showed itself aware of me as I advanced. Advance means when he kind of moved forward. Yeah. It had been moving towards me, but it stood still. Right? Yeah. And then, as I drew near, I saw it to be the figure of a woman. So initially it was not very clear, that he could not kind of clearly identify. As I drew nearer, yet it was about to turn away. That means it is almost like she is kind of, avoiding people, hating people. So she has enough reasons to do so. Yeah, maybe that is the reason that she is trying to turn around, right? But then without turning around, when it stopped and let me come up with it. So the figure, so she is referred to as it, right? You can see. Almost like, it's because she's not, even when he identifies the figure is to be of a woman, he continues referring to it as it, right? Yeah, almost like an object or an animal. So usually we use the, it is used with either animals or inanimate objects. So the language can be very powerful. Anything that you want to add, Reverend?
I don't know. He might be thinking that it's like a Gothic element.
Yeah, can be. So there is this Gothic kind of, idea as well. This Gothic nature is there throughout the book. And also, can you remember there was this incident, he saw a figure is moving towards him and moving back him, and then he saw that Miss Havisham was hanging. It is not the reality. Can you remember, Reverend? I think it was there in the first chapter that we discussed. It's almost like a Gothic element. Yeah. So he saw this as a hallucination, Reverend? Yeah, something like that. And then, so again, then it faltered as if much surprised and uttered my name, and I cried out, Estella, the one who kind of, did not want even to meet her. Yeah, so you can see how diabolical human nature can be. I'm greatly changed. I wonder you know me. Yeah, so that means literally changed, physically changed, right? Yeah, emotionally. and also spiritually. In all these ways, she has changed. The freshness of her beauty was indeed gone. So no longer a kind of, she doesn't look like this fresh beauty. But its indescribable majesty and its indescribable charm remained. So it's always like, that there is this idea that beauty can change, but charm does not change. Yeah, beauty changes with time, right? But then again, charm does not change. And also, it's almost like there is this power associated to Estella's character from the beginning. She's identified as someone powerful. And I'm not only referring to the social class which is given to her, because it is not kind of, natural. She's kind of, given this social class, not the social class that she was born into. But again, you can see, when it comes to Estella, there is this power, because anyway, her mother is also a very powerful woman, despite her criminal background. So not all the women can be criminals, right? Yeah, can be murderers specifically. But we can see that she has that power within her. No matter positive or negative, she has that power, that majesty, those attractions in it. So that power kind of attracts people. I had seen before, what I had never seen before was the sad and softened light of the once proud eyes. So that is very important. So how her pride has kind of shattered. Not literally gone out, but also shattered. The sad and softened light. So the pride is now softened. Not only softened, but also there is this sad and kind of a tragic light in her eye. And also was the friendly touch of the once insensible hand. Again, you can see a great change, right? So initially she was very insensible, but now there is a friendly touch. And again, do you think this is related to romance, Reverend? Is it a romantic encounter or friendly encounter? Even from the movie? Friendly encounter, right? So we cannot exactly label it as romantic, Reverend. Again, speaks volumes about this, the writer's idea of portraying all these characters, specifically Pip's. Because Pip had all these great expectations, but Herbert is the one who is greatly rewarded. And Joe and Biddy are the ones who are greatly rewarded, not Pip or Estella. And even Bentley Drummond, the worst character, literally dead, right? And all these negative characters, you can see that it is very kind of, one can argue that this is catering to binary opposites. Like, all the good characters remain and the bad characters are dead. Miss Havisham is dead, Mrs. Joy is dead. And even Magwitch, right, no matter how good he turned out to be, he had this dark past and he is dead. And also, who else is dead? The worst character of the novel? The one we mentioned today? we mentioned it right now.
His sister.
She's dead, yeah. And also, Reverend? Miss Havisham is dead, and someone that I couldn't mention. Estella's husband? Yeah, so he's like the worst character, right? Yeah, and you can see that. You can maybe argue that this is kind of, not kind of a grey novel. So all the good characters remain and bad characters die and the good characters are rewarded. But again, you can refer to this karmic intervention as well, right? Anyway, that's how the universe operates, right? Good is rewarded and bad is punished. Yeah, according to the universal law maybe. So maybe Dickens is referring to that. That idea is there. Okay. And then we sat down on a bench that was near, and I said, after so many years, it is strange that we should thus meet again, Estella. Here where our first meeting was, do you often come back? So again, you can see a flashback here as a literary device, Reverend, you may write down. So a strong flashback to their childhood. And also irony, right? Estella despised him. What a coarse, common laboring boy. Yeah. Now he is the only one literally left for her. I have never been here since, no I. So this is almost like fated because both of them have not been here, but once they are here, they meet. Yeah, kind of like a meeting which is arranged by the fate, you can say. Yeah. The moon began to rise. Again, the environment is connected to the situation reference, you can see. Right, earlier it was dark, but now the moon, right? So there's hope. And I thought of the placid look at the white ceiling which had passed away. The moon began to rise. Again, you can see repetition of the moon began to rise. So you may highlight it. The repetition is there. And placid, you know, right? Placid means it's like neutral, reverend. Yeah, not saddened or kind of, excited. Yeah, neutral. Not easily excited. Oh, yeah. And then I thought of the pressure on my hand when I had spoken the last words he had heard on earth. So what is that reference, Reverend? I thought of the pressure on my hand when I had spoken the last words he had heard on earth. Who is this he here? No, not the husband. Pip is referring to it. I thought of the pressure on my hand when I had spoken the last words he had heard on earth.
Oh,
Yeah. Convict, yes, exactly. Magwitch, reverend. Yeah, so when he was on his deathbed, on the verge of dying, Pip was there holding his hand. And can you remember what he told him? Yes. You have a beautiful daughter. She's a lady. Yeah, and also something else. He said something very important to him. What is that? Yeah, Raman, sort of the same idea. He said that he loves her. Yeah, not that he would take care, but he said that I love her. Yeah, so then again that idea is hidden inside when you say that you love someone. That idea is there. Yeah. Estella was the next to break the silence that ensued between us. I have very often hoped and intended to come back, but have been prevented by many circumstances. Poor old place. Again, you can see that word old, Reverend, the adjective old. So not literally the physical oldness, right? Yeah, but they are kind of referring to it with their memory. And then the silvery mist. Can you remember the first mist was very cold and melancholy? Now it is a silvery mist, right? Yeah. Earlier it is called silvery mist. Now the silvery mist, literally, kind of a romantic backdrop is made. Yeah. Was touched with the first rays of the moonlight. And the same rays touched the tears that dropped from her eyes. Again, you can see very beautiful language, right? Yeah, no matter how sad the situation is, we can admire the language. Not knowing that I saw them and setting herself to get the better of them, she said quietly. And what is very ironical, and also again you can see a flashback, Reverend. Can you remember who cried in the first meeting, first encounter? Was it Pip or Estella? Pip, right? Pip was crying. Now Estella is crying. So again you can see another parallelism is made between Pip and Estella as well. How their characters change, right? Yeah. Yes. And then were you wondering as you walked along how it came to be left in this condition? So now kind of she wants to know whether he's inquisitive about this place. And again you can see this complete shift of paradigm is happening here. So I will write that word paradigm. If you want me to send it to the group, let me know. Paradigm. Paradigm shift. Then great change. When the eras change also we use this word. Let me send it. DIGM, Reverend, but it is pronounced as paradigm. Yeah. So a paradigm shift is here because Pip and Estella, they are undergoing kind of a very intense change. Yeah. And then the ground belongs to me. It is the only possession I have not relinquished. Everything else has gone from me little by little, but I have kept this. It was the subject of the only determined resistance I made in all the wretched years. So that means she has lost everything, even the money, right? Because the father is coming from this criminal background, but again you can see that this is left. Again it is very symbolic because this is symbolic of Miss Havisham, right? And also in a way Stella as well. And relinquished, you know the meaning, Reverend, right? Relinquished means kind of giving up in a voluntary manner. Yeah, giving up. Voluntarily giving up. So relinquished everything she has given up, but she has kept this place. Right. And then what do you have here? The ground belongs to me. It is the only possession I have not relinquished. Now we discussed that. Is it to be built on? At last it is. I came here to take leave it before it change. So that means you can see that before it's change, she needs to kind of take leave of it. It's like nostalgia. You may write down nostalgia. Right? Revisiting the past in your mind. Right. And then okay, we have 5 minutes more. We would be able to finish. And you, she said in a voice of touching interest to a wanderer, you live abroad still, and do well, I'm sure. So here you can see that. Can you remember that Pip is residing with Herbert and his wife? Can you remember? Pip is living with Herbert and his wife. He told Biddy once here when Biddy was asking, yeah. So that's what I have so settled down in their home. Can you remember that he's going to die as an old bachelor? Yeah. So then I work pretty hard for a sufficient living, and therefore yes, I do well. So what has happened? So he used not to work hard. Can you remember there was this club as well, right, where they were just spending money without earning. But now he's earning. So you can see life has humbled him, right? Yeah. So life has made him kind of work hard and stay kind of in kind of a humble position, right, to earn for himself, not depending on another one's wealth. I have often thought of you, said Estella. Have you of late? Very often. There was a long hard time when I kept far from the remembrance of what I had thrown away, when I was quite ignorant of its worth. So what is she referring to here? So she literally says that I have kind of ignored you without knowing your worth. Yeah, that's the idea. What I had thrown away. Again, not referring to as a person, but referring to Pip. But since my duty has not been incompatible with the admission of that remembrance, I have given it a place in my heart. So here the idea is, Reverend, because she was literally trained to avenge on men, take revenge or avenge on men. But she did not want to do that to Pip. That's why she kept this safe distance. And then Pip says, you have always held your place in my heart. And we were silent again until she spoke. I little thought, said Estella, that I should take leave of you in taking leave of this spot. I'm very glad to do so. Again, you can see that both of them have broken down, right? Both of them are now broken, shattered characters. Not wholesome, both of them, right? Yeah, so they are kind of, trying to rely on each other. So then Estella is trying to kind of, be separated from him. Take leave of you. Going to be dead you. And then, glad to part again, Estella. To me, parting is a painful thing. To me, the remembrance of our last parting has been ever mournful and painful. That means he's approaching again, right? Yeah, trying to win her heart again. But you said to me, returned Estella, very earnestly, God bless you, God forgive you, and if you could say that to me then, you will not hesitate to say that to me now. Now when suffering has been stronger than all other teaching, has taught to understand what your heart used to be, I have been bent and broken, but I hope into a better shape, right? So that is very powerful, this quotation. I have been bent and broken, true, broken, but into a better shape. So that's why people say, being broken is good, because then you can be broken into a better shape. It's better than kind of, being, I would say, in the same manner. So that's why it's always you can see people who are very depressed in the time of their life has made her stronger. She has been bent, but that has become a very positive thing for her. Be as considerate and good to me as you were, and tell me we are friends. And again you can see, right, not a romantic encounter, not a romantic relationship, but a friendship. We are friends, said I, rising and bending over her as she rose from the bench. And we'll continue friends apart, said Estella. Again, she wants to be friends with him, not kind of a romantic relationship, because I don't think she has the capacity to be in a romantic relationship again. When a person is so broken, it is very difficult for a person to be in a romantic relationship again. That happens, and then it's not kind of applicable to everybody, but again most of the time that is the case. I took her hand in mine and we went out of the ruined place. So that means they are leaving behind the ruins of the past, literally. Ruined place, that means past is left. And as the morning mists had risen long ago when I first left the forge, so the evening mists were rising now. And again you can see morning and evening mists, right? Again the mist, but again two different times, morning and evening. And if it was kind of the morning mist that they could see at this moment, maybe then we can identify it as a hint of a romantic relationship, but no, right? It is evening mist. So no kind of a proper dawn or a proper morning that you can see here. And in all the broad expanse of tranquil light they showed me, again tranquil light, tranquil means everyone is kind of calm, collected, right? I saw no shadow of another parting from her, right? So again, this is very symbolic of kind of, I would say, a signature of Dickens' writing. He concludes every aspect, but also when you say, I saw no shadow of another parting from her, it is like an open ending. So you can clearly see a friendship here, but we do not know whether it was directed to a romantic relationship or not. So that is hinted in a way, right? But it is not clearly said. So you may arrive at your own conclusion. The readers are given that liberty. So if you like to picture them as lovers, you may. If you like to picture them as friends, you may. So that's, Dickensian argument. Right. Okay, Reverend. So with that, we come to the end and we will discuss this note next Monday. I gave you the note, right? Yeah. It is not complete. Something has happened. Maybe I was so sleepy when I saved it. Yeah. Maybe that was not saved properly. But I'm pretty sure those slides are there. So I will give that to you next Monday, and we will complete the drama and the poem. We have 2 more to complete. And you have to study all the texts that we did, right? Not as in there are no kind of, a considerable amount, I would say. Because there were Not 15 weeks. Around 13 weeks. We will be able to complete everything. If not, we will do an extra hour either Monday or Wednesday. I think Monday we are anyway having 3 hours now. Yeah, 2 hours. We'll try to do 2 hours Monday and 2 hours Friday. If it fails, we will do 3 hours Friday. Then we will be able to complete everything. Okay, Reverends.